This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Thursday, the 24th day of January in the year 2019. Here's what we're tracking tonight. The annual Officers' Conference of the Guyana Defense Force opened this morning with Commander-in-Chief President David Granger indicating the need for stronger border control in wake of the movement of Venezuelans into Guyana, seeking refuge from economic and other issues in their homeland.
The influx of more than 3,000 migrants fleeing economic and political distress in Venezuela necessitates stronger controls along our borders. The Defense Force, therefore, must maintain itself in a state of readiness to secure our entire country and protect it from present and future dangers. The Defense Act charges the Defense Force with the defense of Guyana. The force, therefore, is obligated to secure the state and safeguard the entire territory from invasion, incursion, and insurrection. Incursions must be deterred. Insurrections must be suppressed.
President Granger said Guyana remains committed to ensuring that South America and the Caribbean region remain a zone of peace. He said that peace subscribes to the peaceful settlement of disputes. Guyana, he said, will never do anything to endanger international peace.
Guyana remains committed to ensuring that the Caribbean and the continent of South America remain a zone of peace. It subscribes to the peaceful settlement of disputes and will never do anything to endanger international peace. Incursions have occurred not only in our maritime space but also on land. Illegal mining, illegal logging, illegal arms, narcotics, people and wildlife trafficking, and the smuggling of precious minerals have continued. We have to stop.
A few weeks back, Guyana was forced to file a complaint with the United Nations after the Venezuelan Navy intercepted and attempted to board an ExxonMobil research vessel that was conducting work in Guyana's waters. Guyana currently has a case before the International Court of Justice for a final settlement of the border row with Venezuela. President Granger said the government of Guyana will continue to invest in the military. He noted that the budget for the Guyana Defense Force has been increased by more than 75% in the last 3 years. He said several new initiatives for the development of the Guyana Defense Force are already being examined and implemented.
The force is set to improve its physical infrastructure, to acquire drones for border surveillance, inshore patrol vessels, and engineer and transport equipment through budgetary allocations in financial year 2019. I issued a directive for personnel to be brought up to authorized establishment levels, for operational readiness and infrastructure to be improved, and for the technical core to be upgraded and equipment to be recapitalized.
The president said his government will continue with its plans and efforts to develop and improve the Guyana Defense Force.
The power of digital transformation at Canto's 35th AGM and Mini Expo. On January 27th to 30th, 2019, be at the forefront of change as we discuss transitioning to a digital region, opportunities and challenges with co-host GTT at the Marriott Hotel Guyana. Network with C-level delegates and thought leaders. Explore emerging technologies at our Mini Expo. Attend the GSMA workshop and more. Register today at www.canto.org.
Get ready to ride it, ride it. Ready to ride it, ride it, ride it, ride it, ride it, ride the wave. Open up the new vibe, drink up the boldness inside. Radical and fresh and wild. Catch the wave now. Ride bold, ride fresh, ride strong. Come on, ride the wave. Taste the action, satisfaction, perfection. Wave, wave, wave.
Ride the new wave of excitement sweeping Guyana. Wave Pelayo, a premium, full-bodied, strong and refreshing alcoholic brew, crafted to perfection for a bold, young, radical you. Don't settle for anything less. Catch a Wave Pale Ale and ride it today.
Wave Pale Ale.
Crafted to perfection.
Roam like you're home, because prepaid means more with GTT. Travel to any GTT roam zone in the US, Canada, Caribbean, Latin America, or South America and pay the same great rates to use your data from foreign as you do when you're home. With GTT, prepaid means more, so roam like you're home with GTT, Guyana's preferred roaming network.
Welcome back. Chief Justice Roxanne George Wiltshire this morning listened to arguments from the attorneys representing the various interests in the two cases, calling for the no-confidence vote to be declared invalid. One of the main issues that came up for discussion was the dual citizenship of Charandas Prasad, the former government member of parliament who voted against his own government in the no-confidence motion. Mr. Prasad was represented in court today by attorney Sanjeev Datadin. On the issue of dual citizenship, Datadin told the court that the time to object to Prasad's presence in the National Assembly as a Canadian citizen has long passed.
This application ought to be struck out. It has not been brought in accordance with the constitutional provisions. It has not been brought in accordance with the statutory provisions. It has not been brought in accordance with the rules that apply to election petitions and anything to do with the validity of elections. So there really is no basis for the proceedings to have been brought. The arguments advanced this morning about being a dual citizen, you need to have brought a petition within 28 days of Mr. Charandas going to Parliament. The argument that he has crossed the floor would mean that the vote would still count, because Article 165(2) is very clear, the provision of what it is and what they're going to do. So there is no basis in the claim.
Senior counsel Neil Boston, who represented the interests of private citizen Compton Reed, explained to the media after his arguments that Charandas Prasad could not have made a conscience vote when he was extracted from a particular list and was placed in Parliament by that list.
Article 163 of the Constitution gives Parliament the power to make laws governing election, but the laws that were made is National Assembly Validity of Election Acts, but the act did not make provision for what happens in the situation like Charandas, where you have to come by election petition and you have to bring it 28 days after the election was certified. We are saying in the absence of that, the original jurisdiction of the court and the constitutional jurisdiction comes into play, because we are alleging there's been a breach of the Constitution. We feel under 153, since our electoral system is proportional representation and your name is extracted from the list of a candidate, Charandas' name was extracted from the APNU AFC list. So he cannot vote against the list from which his name was extracted. There was no such thing as conscience vote. You got to vote for the list from which your name was extracted.
The Chief Justice is expected to hand down her rulings in the three court challenges next week. From all appearances, whatever ruling is handed down, the case could find its way all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice, as both sides have indicated a willingness to file an appeal if the matter does not go in their favor. Commissioners of the Guyana Elections Commission today said that the Chief Elections Officer has provided them with various documents and scenarios that they will have to use to come up with a timeline for possible early elections. Commissioner Vincent Alexander said the Commission will have to further examine the information put forward by the Chief Elections Officer.
Scenarios did not dwell on the question of a maritime.
Any timeline at all?
I think what was presented is for us to make decisions in principle that would then lead to a possible timeline.
Mr. Alexander noted that the information presented this morning by the Chief Elections Officer did not point to any specific timeline.
There was no specific deadline proposed. There were scenarios, and there was one scenario. There was no scenario that spoke to the 90 days. None. There was one scenario that spoke to the possibility of using the extant list, which expires in April. There was no scenario that spoke to the question of 90 days, which means an election in March. None.
On the passage of a no-confidence motion, elections are expected to be called within 3 months or at a time agreed to by 2/3 of the National Assembly. Commissioner Says Gunraj told reporters today that while he too is still examining the information put forward by the Chief Elections Officer, he believes that there could be elections within the constitutional period. Up to late this afternoon, the commissioners were still locked in that GCOM meeting. Let's tell you now that Guyana's Foreign Minister Carl Greenwich is in the United States, and yesterday he met and held talks with the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State John Sullivan. According to a statement from the U.S. State Department, the two leaders commended the strength of the U.S.-Guyana partnership, and Deputy Secretary Sullivan affirmed Guyana's sovereign rights and jurisdiction within its exclusive economic zone. During the discussions, the two also spoke about preparations for elections in Guyana as well as the importance of U.S.-Guyana cooperation for Guyana's safety and security in light of instability in neighboring Venezuela. U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday announced that the U.S. will be recognizing the Venezuelan opposition leader as the interim president, making it clear that it is not recognizing the Nicolas Maduro presidency. Maduro has given U.S. diplomats 72 hours to leave the country. The U.S. has said the diplomats will not be leaving. Sad news to report now. A high school student attached to the Mays School died on her way to the hospital today while being rushed there from the school. The teenage student, according to sources at the school, had been suspected of using ecstasy. The school reportedly made a decision to call in her parents for a meeting today. The girl subsequently reported that she was feeling unwell and slipped in an unconscious mood while being taken to the hospital. It is suspected that she died on the way. News source made several calls to the school today, but was told that the administrator and all senior officials were out and not available for comment. And finally tonight, a 31-year-old assistant superintendent of police was shackled today as he was taken to court to face a rape charge. The police officer Sicharan Singh was today charged with the rape of a 13-year-old girl. It is alleged that between the 17th and 18th of June last year, the man engaged in sexual activity with the child. Because the case involves a minor, details cannot be reported. In court today, the police prosecutor did not object to bail, but Magistrate Shirley Isaacs denied bail and remanded the assistant superintendent to jail until the 5th of February, when the matter will come up again. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting.